Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and congratulations for hopefully surviving July. It is day with 5 days left to go. I got a fundraiser, which I do monthly, to keep THORnews up and running. If you would like to contribute, every dollar helps. I got a snail mail, a PayPal, a Venmo, a CashApp, and a Patron, and $1,584 left to go. And I will do what I can to keep bringing you guys all the important news, and there is a lot of news these days, so let's get to it. And we start with the sun because it is the center of our solar system, and when the sun acts weird, Earth weather acts weird, and then people kind of freak out. And so we've been getting some A-class solar flares out of Sunspot AR2767, but we've got Sunspot AR2768 rolling around. We've got two sunspots now, clear signs the sun is waking up from its deep solar minimum, and it's got some major filament towers that are popping like gremlins dancing, and it looks like a pretty big sunspot with some very serious activity. Like, you can just see this thing kind of freaking out, doing what the sun does, and what the sun does, nobody really knows, man, and no one knows what the sun is going to do. But when the sun starts acting freaky-deaky, then the weather usually gets kind of freaky-deaky, and that includes earthquakes and volcanoes. Los Angeles earthquake Twitter is always acute Twitter and active. Today and this morning, as they had a 4.2 earthquake in San Fernando, Los Angeles, and then a 3.2 and a 3.8 in San Fernando, a lot of people say they were pretty strong tremblers. And then you had a 4.1 up here in Ferndale, just off the coast of California. And so earthquakes are rocking on the West Coast. We've got solar wind incoming. A stream of solar wind from a coronal hole could graze Earth's magnetic field on August 2nd and 3rd, making everything more interested and maybe a little more hyperactive. We're saying goodbye to farewell Comet Neo-Wise, which was one of the coolest comets I've ever seen in my history of doing THORnews. And we've got noctilucent clouds going super strong. In a typical year, noctilucent clouds begin to fade in late July. But 2020 is not typical. This season is still going strong. And I couldn't have said that better myself. And then we got a potential 0.3 lunar distance, 30-meter asteroid coming in on September 1st. But that's like a month away. And so a month away is like a year away in 2020. And I am doing what I can, along with the Weather Twitter team, to track every single movement and interesting information of Tropical Storm Isaias, which is already getting stronger as it moves past and through the Dominican Republic. And then we have our next wave, which will be Josephine, eventually tropical storm or hurricane, that is coming off, and it is strong as well. The Cranky Weather Guy is King of Weather Twitter and the best weatherman on the planet. The guy I check all my information through to make sure I'm not way off base, although we disagree sometimes. Cranky Weather Guy for near Florida up to North Carolina, coastal offshore tracking potential. We watch the nose of the dominant high lifting out of the way, precisely where the weakness on the southwest quad allows the cyclone to split the west extension. And so I got to tell you, dude, like, I can't ever remember a storm being like this, where we had so much uncertainty and then the models really not locking in completely. So at this point, it can go anywhere. Like, you can make landfall in Miami, but we're all pretty sure that it's eventually going to curve up the coast. It can make landfall in North Carolina and then New Jersey and New York and New England, or it could just go out to sea like Dorian. And so we are between a major landfall of a possible hurricane in all along the East Coast, or we could get a miracle and a Dorian situation. At this point, nobody knows. And so, we are going to prepare for the worst and pray for the best, pretty please. At no point in time am I trying to hype up danger, because I make my living as your planetary defense commander off your donations and contributions, not off money from the views. So I'm not here to get views. I'm here to get people safe, give good information that you can prepare off of. And there's so many questions with this one. Little midterm issue near the South Carolina, North Carolina coastal tracking arc. Disturbance pulling east today. Tomorrow will set the tone and flow there. An old thought was the boundary could draw the cyclone slow, but that won't occur. we're down to the question of push and pull within that noted sweep. And so we are tracking, and like I said, it's going to bring it close into Florida. And I mean, there is a good chance that it's going to come in high and tight to the west, and that you may get landfalls or major coastal effects all along the coast. And we are watching. It is about 70 hours away from Florida and 5 days away from like New Jersey, New York. We are in the home stretch now. It is down to timing and evolution. When dealing with something as small as a tropical cyclone, a few hours slower, faster is the difference between a coastal graze and a coastal ride. At least the push right seems to be entrenched over any capture. And so, there's a lot at play, and it is the subtleties, or as my old football coach used to say, it is a game of inches and angles. And what we are praying for is a Dorian-like situation. And Prayer Warriors, Astro Fight Club, and Atmospheric Defense, we will all take any help we can get. We will know more once Tropical Storm Isaias has fully gone past the Dominican Republic and Haiti, known as Hispaniola. Whereas the center of Tropical Storm Isaias, as Scott Pecorelio, is complicated, as is everything in 2020. The system continues to struggle without a well-defined stacked center. Radar indicates that the MLC is further north. The lower level circulation is likely to weaken further south. This could mean a few things. And so we won't have a full grasp on where this thing is going and its intensification possibilities until it clears past this island, which has been dubbed the Hurricane Killer, but it does not look like it's passing directly over the island. It looks like it's kind of shooting the gap between Puerto Rico and Mona Passage, which means it definitely could intensify to a hurricane, not a stronger hurricane later down the road. And I want to remind everybody that this would be on the day near where Isaias would be near, right, coming up to Miami or Florida, and 85 degrees in the ocean is what we call rocket fuel for hurricanes. So it would have about 60 to 65 hours to develop once it clears past Hispaniola over very, very hot waters. I agree with Miss Fumero that 2020 needs to stop 2020, but I don't think that's going to be the case, ma'am. And Kim Wood is saying we've seen worse looking invests, and this will be future Josephine. And so, we might have multiple bogeys to deal with, Maverick. But in good news, Crank has broke down the timing of the interaction of all these processes tied into the model behavior. I won't incorporate guidance into any thinking until the system is reformed north of Hispaniola. And so the models just give us an idea, but nothing is locked in until the storm moves past Hispaniola. I don't know why I can't pronounce it. However, a tighter consensus has emerged as figure once yesterday's evolution has completed. And so, here is our range, and we will know a whole lot more when it moves past the islands. Regardless, this storm continues to strengthen. It now has winds over 60 miles per hour. Remember, it only takes 75 mile per hour winds to be considered a hurricane, and it will have 3 days to strengthen. The storm will continue to bring tropical storm force winds over a large portion of the Caribbean Sea. Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic are, oh man, I don't know. The president said he was thinking about delaying the election, and so maybe that's messing with my Freudian slips. Okay, yeah, but heavy rain and flooding coming to ports of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. And I wouldn't try to force anything into mail-in voting. I'm pretty sure people will put on their masks and be happy to go vote. I know I will. Cranky Weather Guy, as per wind, we have a strong convergent area. However, as the high-pressure nose departs, we lose that convergence, and the narrow pocket might open broader, thus capping overall potential. Something to eyeball as it unfolds. For now, a strong support tap aloft, yet removed well north and east at the moment. And so, we've got a pretty broad footprint for where this can go. Lots of questions still to be answered. But regardless of its distinction, it will be a major, massive-sized storm. As Rachel Perky notes, tropical storm force winds extend for hundreds of miles with ees-ah-EE-ahs, whatever his name is. 465 miles wide. That's a big storm, you know. A lot of the models are showing it to take a possible Dorian track, although the blue one is not Dorian-esque. The blue one is more Sandy-esque. The blue one is like worst case scenario. It would actually hit Miami and is that like Orlando and Jacksonville? All right, this area, Boca Raton, and then it would move up. This was the worst case scenario here, and then of course outside is best case scenario. But we won't know anything until it reforms, and then there's the pink one, which could be we'll see though, And if you're looking for a guy who's really great at pronouncing things officially science-wise all the time, I'm not that guy. Ees-ah-EE-ahs, ees-ah-EE-ahs, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, including John Dawson, is tracking this thing. And so this is the most important interaction I think at this point this thing will make. If the farther west it goes, these mountains will tear it up. If it does shoot the gap, it has potential to be a pretty strong hurricane. This is a pretty wild storm. Jonathan Erdman, in a broad sense, ees-ah-EE-ahs, reminds me of a CAG, Central American Yair, in that spoke may be spun off and become the main show. Philip Papin, who's always yapping cool stuff about weather, the earlier mesovortex Isaias has continued rapidly moving to the northwest and is now on the northeast coast of Hispaniola. There is a decent velocity couplet with it. Remains possible the low-level center of Isaias jumps to this mesovortex if it can remain offshore. So if it remains offshore and shoots the gap, that would be a bad sign, dude. Although if it jumps ashore, shoots the gap, and then never hits any coasts, then we're totally okay with that. And I got to tell you, my reading of the astrology says that bad things could definitely be happening in the near future and could be happening to New York-ish. So take that with a grain of salt, but putting that out there. And with a major maximum imbalance in our own solar system, with all the planets on the same side and something called orbital angular velocity momentum, I just screwed up all the words. We are expecting more earthquakes, more volcano eruptions, more general wackiness and weirdness in the weather and with people. And so, put your game faces on and get right with God for sure. So I will be here for you, pretty much tracking and staring at this thing plugged into the matrix until landfall with small bouts of sleep. I slept for 2 hours today. I can't. The energy's so insane because this is my full-time job. And hopefully you guys will retain me for August. And if you would like to and can contribute to THORnews, I would really appreciate it. I absolutely love snail mail. It always puts a smile on my face when I get a letter. T. Lewison, 5430 Birdwood Road, number 416, Houston, Texas, 77096. I got a PayPal. I got a Venmo. I got a Cash App. I got a Patron. I've got $1,584 left to raise in 5 days. And I got to say, super duper absolute thank you to Angelique and your whole family, and James and your whole family, and Mike and your whole family, and Andy and your whole family, and Robert and your whole family, and Bennett and your whole family, and Matthew and your whole family, and Jess and your whole family, cutie, and Angel and your whole family, and Wagon Breath and your whole family, and Dan and your whole family. You guys are incredible, and thank you to everyone out there in Astro Fight Club who is just cool, who sends good thoughts, good prayers, and helps us in the USA keep it together. And in political news and real life news, Herman Cain has died of COVID. So that's a bad sign, man. Mars is in shadow, and just all the evidence is pointed to this thing is real, and you and your family want to avoid it. And remember, we will be, if we do have any type of an evacuation hurricane scenario, it will be during a plague and a pandemic. So I've covered that pretty accurately all year long as well, even though it's been annoying because 35% of the people have been militantly angry telling people that it's a hoax or it's no worse than the flu, and that is not true at all. And it was even weird because Herman Cain's people were tweeting really divide and conquer stuff on his Twitter account while he was in the hospital for 5 weeks. So I don't know, man. It's going to be like a war of the planets, a war of the little G gods for the rest of 2020. So please buckle up. All right. Everybody stay cool. God bless everyone.